Yo.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh, it's
Um,
amazing. You wouldn't even believe it.
good. I don't want to believe it.
You wouldn't
Wait,
believe
what?
it. If I
I
told
don't want to
you,
believe it anyways.
you would not believe how amazing it is.
I probably would believe, Joe. I probably would. I think you're underestimating my power of belief. I think you're underestimating my ability to believe things.
It's entirely possible.
And you know what?
But I think it's
That's okay.
because I'm doing so unbelievably
Mm-hmm.
that I just can't imagine even you believing it.
You're probably right. And the thing is, see, there's so much I don't know. There's so many factors in this thing that we're talking about, which I'm not even sure what it is anymore. That, I probably wouldn't be able to conceive all of it. And because I can't really conceive all of the things that are happening. I can't quite understand all of the things. It makes it harder to believe.
Yeah, well, believe it. Believe
Good.
that it's unbelievable.
All right. I'll believe that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody to Don't uh, Freak Out Friday. Don't uh, face palm into the floor Friday. Um, um, don't, yeah, there's a lot of things. So anyways, I could work with that. This is the show where we discuss the issues or the concerns or problems or whatever is going on throughout your day, throughout the week, that you're worried about or concerned about. This name is still to be determined, I see. Yes, it is, Anna. Um, so anyways, yeah, please feel free to, put forth whatever's on your mind. Maybe it's family issues, maybe it's issues with your friends, or maybe it's an issue with yourself. Maybe your dog died and you're looking for some comfort. There's tons of things that happen throughout our daily, on a daily basis throughout our lives that cause us to feel worried or upset, and we're here to maybe just be that friend that can, help you let it out and talk about the issues.
Mhm.
Um, we are not a substitute for professional help. So any lawyers, drop your pencils, just listen. You don't need to write down everything we say.
That's right. That's right. Because
But
we
it
got
will be
we
recorded.
got we got the disclaimers.
Yes, we got a disclaimer.
Yeah.
So anyways,
That's like, that reminds
join
me
me.
of, I was at martial arts, and my oldest son got
Mm-hmm.
knocked over and landed on his elbow kind of funny and got hurt a little bit, got, kind of
Yeah.
bumped around a little bit, and he's having a hard time, and they were a little bit worried about it, like the instructors and stuff. I'm like, man, this is martial arts. We're gonna get banged around a little bit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why we sign waivers.
Yeah.
And they laughed. I'm like, but I mean, it could have been way worse. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
so
Yep.
welcome anyway.
So guys, so we hope you all signed your waivers. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so it looks like
Well, people are commenting on my hair. It's not really hair. It's just a hat.
oh, I thought you dyed your scalp blue. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I just,
No.
it's because now it's getting to be winter up here in
Mm-hmm.
in Michigan, and it's actually kind of cold. So this will probably be like, you'll see a hat on my head, generally speaking, for the next 8 months.
Okay, yeah. Because winter lasts more than half the year over here in Michigan. I'm sorry for
Yeah.
anybody who ever lives in Michigan with us. If you don't like the snow, then I'm sorry. But it snows here and then it stays. Unlike in other places in the world where it snows and then over the next day or 2 days, sometimes maybe three in some places, it melts, but then it melts. Like it actually melts. It doesn't melt here. It
Mm-hmm.
snows once and then it stays. So, um, hey, Haley, what's up? You say, hey, Brian, guess what? And also, it seems like Kayla's already posted a question. And on that note, we do have one in the backlog from Crimson. Is Crimson here by any chance? Because that'd be really great. You asked your question a little while back.
Yeah, is Jack Crimson? Yeah, okay,
Oh, well,
cool.
Jack Dito is Crimson. Okay, thanks for that update there. Oh yeah, hey
Yeah,
Ryan and Joe, this is count because okay, got it, cool. Well, they are here, so that means we can get started on that question, or concern rather. It's not really a question. Sometimes they're not questions. I got to stop calling them that. Um, so yeah,
yeah.
this is what Crimson wrote. Crimson or Jack now. Jack, I'm just gonna call you Jack. That's your real name probably, or maybe something like that. Um, anyways, he said, I know this sounds too sounds like a movie. It sounds too movie-ish, but I want to know my inner self. I want to know what I can do in people's lives. I want to know my place in the world and how to use it in the world. Can you answer these? So yeah, those are your major concerns. Basically, you want to know yourself. You want to know your place in the world. You want to know what you're supposed to be doing to help people. And yeah, how can you find that answer? And can we answer them for you? I think those are great questions, and I'm going to let Joe take that one to start with.
Okay. Well, thank you, Crimson, for the concern and for expressing that here. Because yeah, this is a really big one. Because
Yeah, and it helps a lot of people to go through this.
yes, absolutely. Because I think many, many, many of us, if not all of us, have this type of challenge in our lives, and it's crazy. Like we kind of begin our lives, and we go through school and we're kind of handed things to do. We're told we need to do things, and then as we're growing up we think, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it can change. My two boys, they start off wanting to be scientists and comic book writers, and like my my youngest son is awesome. He says he's going to invent a robot that does my job for me so I can spend more time with him, which I think is just
That's
awesome.
so sweet.
And my oldest son is making comics, and he's like drawing comics. He's
Nice.
10, and this is like a thing that he loves to do. And so he's like, Dad, come help me. I need you write better than me. So you write the words and I'll draw the pictures. And so we got this cool thing we're working together on. But all of these little things, they kind of make up, some of the propensities that we have, some of the tendencies that we are looking towards. So, um, you know, I would kind of look at what you're good at, take a look at some of that, and that can be a clue as to what direction to start moving in. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the direction you're going to end up in, uh, but it's something to start moving in. It's something you can passionately run after, because none of us ever stick with anything if we don't enjoy it to some degree or enjoy the benefits of it. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people will work a job that they hate, but they enjoy the lifestyle that it brings to them. However, I would say that that's a pretty empty course. If you're just doing something because of the payment that you get from it, that course of action, I know from experience to be empty. That is an empty pursuit. Now, sometimes we do have to do things to make some money in order to
Mhm.
fund our dreams, in order to fund what we're doing, in our lives, so we can move forward. And there's no shame in that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the key is to keep that goal in front of you. So, um, as far as figuring out your inner self, um, hmm. I've mentioned this book a few times before, but there's a book I just finished called The Miracle Morning. And the first thing that this guy talks about doing is by Hal Elrod. He explains the first step when you first wake up. You get up and you kind of get yourself awake so you're not going to fall back asleep. And then the first thing you do is you spend some time in silence. You know, you can, whether it's prayer or meditation, but just silence where your head is clear and you're if you're praying to your creator. If you're meditating at that point, I think it's mainly just dismissing thoughts. You're kind of emptying your brain so you can just kind of clear everything out and be at peace. And those are times when it can really be a clarifying experience. It just kind of gets rid of all the junk that's accumulating in your brain, kind of wipes it all clean. And then you kind of can start with a fresh slate. You can be like, okay, what are the things that I enjoy? And then why? You know, I can tell you what I enjoy is an orange sky in the late afternoon on a
Like
beach.
your shirt. Like your shirt.
Like my shirt. It's true. Like, and it's funny. I didn't even really put that together.
I know. I was like,
but that's one of the things. That's what they talk about going to a happy place in your head. That's a happy place in my head. I look up and I see wind blowing through trees and I'm on a beach and the sky is orange. Like that sunset orange, but it's not sunset yet. It's just like that, like on its way to sunset. And I love that spot. So it's like, how can I get more of that spot? Well, you can go there in your head for sure, but you can also set goals in place to get it so you can go visit places that are that way, So take things you enjoy, like places you enjoy being, and then also things you enjoy doing, whether it's music, riding your bike, doing, anything. And how do you get to do more of that? How can you add more of that to your life? And there are a lot of great resources to get there. And we can, I've mentioned a whole bunch of books before, but, as far as progressing through there. But when you're finding a place in this world, that's kind of finding your inner self. You're finding what your tendencies are. You're finding what you like, what you enjoy, all these kinds of things. And you kind of make a catalog of all that kind of stuff. And that kind of gives you an idea of, that type of thing. But finding a place in the world, that is a little bit trickier, but it also can be very simple. Because for every single one of us, our place in this world is to benefit those around us. That's kind of our job. And we don't always see things that way. We're definitely not taught that. We're generally taught, hey, get as much as you can for yourself and that'll make you happy. But that doesn't make you happy. People who are extremely wealthy, who have lived that life, extremely wealthy, will tell you that is an empty pursuit. Just like when I was talking about, if you're just doing something just because you get paid for it, or just because of the money involved, that's empty. What brings true joy is to empty yourself in service to other people, to give of yourself into the lives of other people. It really, truly is. And if you're going to, maybe you decide you're going to go into business and you're going to, build a business of your own. That's the primary objective in business, is to figure out how to bring more life into people's lives through whatever it is that you bring to the table, whatever product, whatever service, anything like that. The underlying, the product or service is kind of the side issue. The real issue is, how are you improving the lives of other people with that? And how can you expand that improvement to as many people as possible? And that's the game of business. People a lot of times think, business is getting a great niche product and then mass marketing it and selling it and making a whole bunch of money. But all that stuff only happens if the product or service improves the lives of the people who consume it.
Mm-hmm. That's what determines its value.
Exactly. And so, but even outside of business, just in our own day-to-day living, how are you giving into the lives of other people? How are you contributing? How are you serving? How are you loving? And love is my favorite example, because real love is a gift that you give to somebody else, as an action. It's a way that you breathe life into another person. And the more love we give people, the more we find that we have inside of our hearts. It's unlike any other thing, where most things, if you give something to somebody, you have less of it. But with love, the more you give to other people, the more you have, the more full your heart becomes. And so when you're finding your place, when you're determining what you want to do, when you're determining all these different things that make up who you are, always remember that the point is to improve the lives of others around you, and it's to serve them and to love them and to give to them. And that is a true key to ultimate joy, because then, then you're not thinking of yourself. Depression comes because we get too self-conscious. And when we can stop thinking about ourselves, think about another person and serve that other person, then our depression starts to melt, because we're not thinking about ourselves anymore. We're not thinking about ourselves and our situation and our pain and our struggle, which everybody has struggles. Everybody. And if you can help another person with one of their struggles, your joy factor will just keep bumping up and up and up and up. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, because that's about all I can think of to say right now. So,
Sure.
Ryan, have at it, man.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I think, I mean, like you said in the beginning, it's something we all kind of go through. I'm brought to something my brother once said, and this is interesting because I wasn't in the place where I was trying to find my position in life. This was after I basically had just found it, kind of like where my path is going, what I feel my place in the world is. Soon after I found that, my brother said a line, and it went like this. He said, "Purpose is like a dream that's bigger than your own life." So purpose is like a dream that's bigger than your own life. And I really like that line. I don't know if that's, he didn't say that in a way that's authoritative, meaning this is what purpose is, but he was just kind of drawing out of our experiences and finding that a lot of times our purpose in life is something that we have a passion and a dream attached to, but it's also bigger than our own life. So, for example, maybe you're really passionate about what Joe was talking about earlier, making inventions, right? Making robots. Can you make a robot that's bigger than your own life? Meaning, can you make a robot that helps more people than just you? Then you're taking something and you're adding value to your other people's lives out of your own passions. So, we are all going through life, and we all have these different passions. We all have some passions that rise up because we experience something or we hear something. And then we also have other passions which we are born with, it seems. We just kind of, even as children, we tend to like certain things. And I think that in life, your passions that you have are a gift. A lot of times, you didn't ask to have the passion. You just happen to enjoy this or that. And sometimes you don't necessarily know why you like certain things, but you do. And some things are bad to like and some things are good to like. like it's not good to like things that are unhealthy for you, etc. But you have your passions, and so find those passions which can be turned into um, into ways of helping people around you. I remember my mom struggling with this because she said, and I think she still struggles with it from time to time, but um, finding your purpose. Why was I created? What I don't seem to have any talents. So what am I supposed to be doing with my life? People look at me and think, well, you're an excellent musician, so your purpose in life is really obvious because you just you're born with this great ability. Well, that's not true, and I'll get to that in a second. But um, as for my mom, she feels like she has no talents, so she doesn't know what her purpose in life is. But she came to realize that when she had children, me and my brother, suddenly it didn't matter what talents she had. Her purpose in life was to provide for her family. And she did that. When, later on in life, or during the same time, she had a lot of friends, who would come to her for joy, who would come to her for community or for entertainment, or sometimes to cry on her shoulder or whatever. And during those times, her purpose was to be a friend. So our purpose in life isn't always exactly like one thing, right? Our purpose is in the moment. And I think if we strive to be what we envision to be the best version of ourselves, like if I look and I say, okay, what would like the best, amazing, most amazing person in the world do in this scenario? And if I can at least achieve some amount of that, then I'm on the right path, right? I'm on a good path, and I'm on a path that's meaningful, right? I'm on a path that's meaningful to other people around me and meaningful to myself. And so purpose is meaningful, and purpose can be a dream that you have. Like maybe you want to get space exploration. You want that to become a thing. That seems strange, but that's maybe a little bit too out of our scopes, and maybe that's for certain people and not for you. But just an idea, a random concept. It's like maybe for some reason you're like so entirely passionate about space exploration that you help move the world forward in that pursuit. Doing studies, learning more about how to make better rockets and how to survive in space and all of these types of things. Or, maybe you're at a position where you don't exactly know what kind of dreams you have. You don't know what you want from the future or what you want to see in the future. And that's totally cool, because no matter where you are, you're in the moment with yourself. And if you are providing value to people around you, then you're doing something that's purposeful. It has a purpose. It's meaningful. But as for me and my purpose, I have a overlying purpose that dictates the rest, I would say. For me, I'm not so caught up in looking to the future or looking at the past. And for me, it's more about just being on the right path. If I can look at myself and say, am I on the right path right now? And I'm like, it seems right, then it probably is. Sometimes we take a path and we know we've taken a wrong turn. We look at our past, what we did like in the last 10 minutes or 3 days, and we're like, wow, okay, I need to get off that path. I need to course correct. Let's start doing something that has more purpose, that has more meaning in it. But if I journey on a path, and each moment, I never know what's going to happen. Sometimes people message me and we talk for several hours about an issue they've had. Or sometimes I'm just working on music. When I release a song, I just pray that it helps a lot of people, you know, and
Mhm.
it usually does, which is not entirely up to me. Um,
It
so
does. It helps a lot of people.
yeah, I try my best. These things you say, you know, that's your purpose in life, and I would agree. I would agree that that's my purpose in life. But my purpose isn't always one thing; it changes throughout the day, from day to day. I have an overlying purpose of, okay, how do I help as many people as possible with the gifts that I have? Because everything we have is a gift, right? This piano is a gift. This drink is a gift. This ability to speak is a gift. The passions I have, the talents I have, those are gifts, right? I have developed them. I have developed the ability to speak. I have developed the ability to play the piano or to write music or to sing or to um, all of these things. You know, I've developed them, but they are currently gifts and I can give them away, right? But the thing is that's beautiful is when I give them away, I still have them. So what can you give away that is out of yourself, out of your being? You know, maybe you have to give things away that you won't have anymore. Sometimes donating can serve a great purpose, right? Donating can serve a great purpose for people who need money. And if you've got some to spare, and you're passionate about that sort of thing, or you're curious about it, look into it. It's a beautiful thing, right? Um, and so similarly, you know, we all have these gifts. How can we use them? I think to keep that in your mind on a daily basis, I have all of these gifts. How can I use them in the most meaningful way? Just ask that simple question. And I think you'll find yourself developing and realizing your purpose. For me, it was like, okay, I have this gift of writing music that I love. I just love it. You know, um, it was something that I could do, you know, but I have this gift. And then when I was brought to the idea of, okay, how can you make that a gift for others? How can you use that in the most meaningful way? Then it makes me realize, like, oh, wait, music could be used to make a great deal of meaning, a great deal of difference in the world, a great deal of help. I just had to think about it, right? And that's true about everything. Quilting. Maybe you know how to quilt. And then you think to yourself, well, how can I quilt in the most meaningful way? How can I quilt in such a way that it is a gift to others? And then you go, oh, well, that's pretty obvious. I can quilt for the poor. I can quilt for my friends. I can quilt to keep people warm in their dark winters. You know, I can quilt and make something that's cute or specially designed for a specific friend to lift their day up, right? So there's a lot of gifts that we have. We have so many. But when you start to look at your life and you realize that, hey, I can use this life, which is a gift, and make it meaningful, make it more meaningful than just itself, but beyond itself. I can help other people. I can help them live their lives and make their lives more meaningful, more held together by a cause or a purpose. You know, I think as soon as we start to see our lives and all of the things that we have as gifts and that we should be giving them away, you start riding that path of purpose. You ride
Hmm.
the path of purpose, and then your question will be answered. We can't answer it for you because we're not you, but just look at those things in your life and start to ask yourself on a daily basis, how can I give these gifts to others?
Hmm.
You will find purpose. You will find
Yes.
purpose without a doubt.
Yes. You know, it's an amazing thing. I love what you were just talking about, Ryan, because the more we empty ourselves and give away ourselves, the more we do that, the more fulfilled we are.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's an
that's true.
amazing, amazing thing. Now, you know, as you probably know, Ryan and I are both Catholic, and I remember a guy talking about he had a picture of the crucifixion. You know, Jesus dead on the cross, and it was an exceptionally bloody rendition of
Mm.
this. and he was explaining it, and he said, when you look at that picture, you know, I mean, most people think suffering, pain, you know, death, you know, all these things, right? And all that is there for sure.
Hmm.
It says that is a picture of the pinnacle of fulfillment for any of us. And I don't mean going and, you know, like death, but what he meant was he emptied himself. He he gave everything. He didn't take for himself. He didn't do this for himself. It was like he gave, you know, and so the more we give, and I know we did, you know, like God, I backtrack now because I'm like, you know, we deal with people who may want to die, all these kinds of things. That's not the point of this. The point is the gift. You know, what can you give in service to other people? You know, like Ryan was just talking about.
Hmm.
How and the more you give away, the more fulfilling your life becomes. It's such an amazing paradox because the more we try and hold on to things for ourselves, the emptier we become.
Hmm. And I think
It's so
it's
crazy.
interesting. It almost seems like a paradox, but at the same time, it also explains human nature. Um, like, I mean, how many people out there like that feeling of being loved? How many people love the feeling of loving, right?
Mhm. Yes.
All of us,
Yes.
every one of us. And that ties directly into the ability to give. And I think so why we feel so fulfilled when we give is that's human nature. We're supposed to. That's what we're designed to. But our brains fight us on that sometimes because just like Joe was saying, you look at the things and you feel like, man, I don't have anything. I feel empty and I don't have anything to give. So then you start looking at things and you start clinging onto them. You say, I want this for myself so that I can have it. Right. And we do that from a very young age. I mean, anybody who's ever had children or seen children, no, that's my toy, you know? Um, yeah. So, but we want to be able to hold on to these things so that we have them and say we have more, right? But that is not fulfilling. It might be satisfying in the moment, but it's not fulfilling in the long run. Um, and you don't look back at those experiences and you go, my, oh my, am I glad that I held on to that ball when they wanted to play with that ball too, but I didn't let them because it was my ball.
Mm.
You never look back at your childhood and go, man, it was a good thing I didn't let my brother play with my toy dump truck because I was playing with it.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
It's all part of growing, you know. I mean, that's
yeah.
stuff, you know, it's natural for us to want things for ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
It
it's
is very
so
natural
amazing.
to things for ourselves. And we're supposed to have things, but those things are again gifts. And we enjoy them a lot more when we share them with others. A lot of times. Of course I should say as a disclaimer, um, it's also good to be alone sometimes.
Mm.
Um, not necessarily to fend for yourself, but to build yourself up, to spend time with yourself. It's important. You have a relationship with yourself that you have to uphold as well. In fact, one of the most important relationships that you have is with yourself. So spend time with yourself and enjoy yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Um,
Mhm.
so, anyways, that's kind of a different subject, but it touched it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you, Crimson, for that question. Or if you want to
mhm.
go by Jack, either or. We really appreciate you coming and sharing with us, and yeah, giving us something to discuss at length here. Because man, we apparently had a lot to say about that, didn't we?
Well, I mean, it's a big subject and it's an important one.
Certainly,
So I think
certainly,
I was
certainly.
so happy that Jack asked this question because I'm like, man, this is a good question. I love this one.
And incidentally, he did say that music is one of his passions.
Yeah, I saw that. He said because of the way that I've used it, and I just encourage you to try to do the same thing with whatever you have.
Mm-hmm.
See what ways you can give it away to improve other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe music will be your talent, or your talent and passion, or maybe it'll be something else in the future. You don't know where this life might take us, but in each moment, on each day, strive to be the best version of yourself, and that will lift other people up as well around you. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks again, Jack.
Call me anything. All right, cool.
So we got a few that have come in.
Yep.
And we have the one that was still on the website. So is Anonymous here?
Anonymous? Is Anonymous here? I'm gonna stare at my Discord. Wait to see if that person starts messaging me or not. But if Anonymous is not here, Anonymous is here. All right. Okay. I didn't even. Yeah. Okay. They just said yes. All right. Okay. Also, Princess, thank you for posting the questions. You seriously, Princess, I love you.
Yeah, Princess. My
thank
goodness.
you so much. Okay. Where is this? Where's the anonymous one?
I definitely want to get to Amira's today.
Oh, family issues. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you like to read this, or you want me to read it?
I can read it.
All right, go for it.
Or you can read it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the
that's the main question. Family issues from Anonymous. A long time ago, we were a happy family, but then my dad lost his job and something happened to him because of that. He has not had a job for years. He recently found one. But when he lost his job, we did not have much money left. We moved because of school issues. My mom and dad divorced short after, but that's not the bad thing. My mom can't get a job, so the government pays her. We have just enough money to get through the month. We asked my dad for money so much, and my mom does not appreciate it. I'm scared of losing everything, and my dad has a drinking issue, and his girlfriend has one too. It scares me sometimes. I hate it, but it's not my life, it's his. But when I visit him, I hope he does not drink. He's a good dad, and my mom, they just have issues. And that's from Anonymous. So yeah, there's some definitely some challenges there, and it's hard to be stuck in that situation. So thank you for sharing, Anonymous. I know that takes a lot of guts.
Yeah.
That. So Ryan, I know that you've been through situations that relate to this. So you wanna go ahead and take it?
Yeah. It is hard. That is really hard. And at first, I think your dad, he lost his job, and I'm sure he felt, and he went into this place of great kind of like depression. You know what I mean? Like, it's not his fault probably that he lost his job, or maybe it was. Doesn't really matter. But when you're supposed to be providing for your family, and like that's your main thing, and then that gets taken away from you, and you can't help it, and you're like, I don't know what to do here. It's very easy to feel like you're just destroyed. It's easy to feel like, man, I can't do anything right. I can't provide for my family. I can't get a job, and you beat yourself up. And I'm sure that's what happened. And that's really sad. That's really, really terrible place to be in. It hurts, and from the outside perspective, like, come on, that's not true, Dad. I mean, we still love you. That has nothing to do with, obviously our well-being is important. We don't want to live out of a box, but at the same time, like, I still love you, Dad. Right. And all these things, like, that, but he's in his own head. Right. And it makes him hate himself. It's really unfortunate. So it's hard. And, that can cause anyone to get into, um, that can cause anyone to get into depression or to get into drinking, or that kind of stuff. And, once you get into that habit, it's hard to stop. Um, you know, if you've ever drank out of a depression, it works. It calms your problems for a little while. It makes you forget, but then the next day it's back. So what do? You drink again. And sometimes you go weeks without drinking and you see improvement, but then, you decide, why not have another one? And you have another one, and then it starts to cycle again. I have I think this, but my dad was an alcoholic, angry alcoholic. And so my mom eventually divorced him because of that problem. Well, many problems, but that one was one of the main ones. But he wasn't, after that, he grew a lot, and he still drinks now, but not as bad. And he's still angry now, but not as bad. And, I love him, and I think he's improved a lot, and I hope he just keeps on improving. Right. But it can be tough. It can be very tough. But it seems like you know that your father's a good dad, and I think that's so important, and I'm so happy for you for that. I grew up. I really didn't like my father. I didn't want to be around him. He wasn't always bad, and I'll tell you, when I lived with him, I never wanted to be around with him. Once the divorce happened, he started to shape up. Then I didn't mind so much, but he would still be a jerk on sometimes, So I had a love-hate relationship with him then. But anyways, so I can't exactly relate, but I can imagine what your dad had been through and why he might have started drinking and so on. But all you can do is hope for people and say, I hope they figure this out for themselves. They know. I mean, you can tell someone like, hey, you got to quit smoking. It's bad for you. They look at you and they're like, yeah, I know. And it's like, yeah, I'm trying. Okay. I'm sorry. A lot of times. And the fact that he usually doesn't, I think you say usually doesn't drink around you. I think that shows great signs. So yeah, anyways, yeah, that's hard. But, like I said, all you can do is hope for people that they can get over their emotional and mental struggles and their physical ones too, because obviously holding a job is a physical thing, not a mental battle, and all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, you just gotta hope for people. And I think that you're already doing that. But as for money, I grew up poor too. And my mom was very, very frugal, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, I grew up in a poor family. My friends thought I was rich. I don't know why. I guess I gave them that kind of mentality based on how I acted, or never complained about my monetary problems. But, we did the best that we could, and we held on, we survived. But I'll tell you something. If you lose your house, it's not as bad as the world makes it out to be. I'll tell you, not from personal experience, but from an experience that my friend, a personal friend of mine, has had. He's lost his house multiple times. Not his house, he's rented apartments, and then eventually he runs out of money, and then he has to live outside in the streets. And he's told me, actually, it's not as bad. Everyone, they're like, oh, at least you're not living in a box. It's honestly, it's not that bad. He's been there. 1, you're still living. 2, your happiness has nothing to do with that. Because, we think that we can maintain happiness as long as we're secure. but that's not true.
Mm.
You know, a lot of times, you know, as Joe was talking about before, people who have like all the money in the world, they're just as depressed. They have just as many mental issues as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have gotten a few monetary things correctly, a few things correct with their finances, or they just got lucky or were born into it. You know, there's all sorts of different factors there, but it has not a whole lot to do with um, how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
You can't solve all the problems in the world with money, you know,
Right.
especially not the ones in your own head, because you can't pay yourself to treat yourself nice. All right. Um, so, anyways, my friend who has lived in a box, literally, or who has lived out on the streets, he basically he learns a lot from it. He learns how to provide for himself out of almost having nothing. He's learned the geography of his location, where he can sleep. You know, the different places that tend to be warmer. Finding different abandoned buildings to live in, and he finds out that it's actually to some degree a lot of fun. Um, it's almost like an adventure that you play a video game, right? You play a video game and you have an adventure, and you're like, man, why can't life be like this? Because we don't allow ourselves, because we're scared.
Yeah.
It's the honest answer there. Go leave your house and then just say, no, I'm not going to live in my house for a month. I'm going to figure things out on my own. That's an adventure. And it can be enjoyable, and you can meet a lot of people and make a lot of great friends. Um, but it's something that is so foreign to us that we're scared because we don't understand it. But once you live it, it's not so bad, and you find out like that was an adventure, you know. Um, so, and I'm not trying to down talk anyone who's lived through that experience. That's awesome, and that's amazing that you made it through it. You know, anybody who's lived homeless or whatever. I mean, it's not easy by no means, but it's not the end of the earth. It's not the end of the world, and it's not necessarily doesn't necessarily have to be pain and suffering. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have pain and suffering either way, whether you have a house to live in or not. So my point of saying that is not that you are on the brink of being homeless. Um, so so prepare yourself. My point is, no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. And if you do become homeless, this is basically just to ease your mind. It's not as bad as we think about, because I think honestly we never really think about it. I mean, how often we think, man, you know, what if I was homeless? What would I do? You know? And then we think about it and we figure out, oh, I guess I would probably have to, oh, geez, what would I do? Maybe I'd go to a church and then ask them, hey, could you help me out? Or maybe I would go to my friend's house, or maybe I would, you know, you could think about these things,
Mm-hmm.
but, you know, living through them, you learn a lot, and it's still just life. And life goes on, and you can make it enjoyable. You can make it a fun experience. You can make it worth your time. It's all based on your attitude. Um, but anyways, that doesn't necessarily solve any of your problems, but it does ease your mind a little bit, right? And I can't solve any of your monetary problems or your family issue problems, but I can hopefully help ease your mind a little bit. As for suggestions of what you can do, obviously, I have a few. If you're worried about your family's finances, you can see what you can do. If you're old enough, you can see what you can do to help by getting a job and working sometimes. You know, if you're going to school, you know, a lot of kids don't know this, but if you're going to school, you can actually still work a job. I remember I worked at Taco Bell with a kid who was in high school, and he would come on the weekends and also sometimes on the weekdays after school. And he didn't need to, actually. His family was fine financially. He didn't need to, but he chose to do it for himself. And I was like, man, this kid is on the right path. This kid is awesome. And every conversation I had with him, I was like, I just had to uplift him, because he had an awesome attitude about life, and I really appreciated him for bringing that to the workplace. But anyways, so yeah, if you're worried about your finances, it's possible that you could get a job if you're old enough. I don't know what the laws are in the place that you live, but that's an option. Just start looking out there to see what's available. You know, and then the second thing is, yeah, and if you're worried like, oh, that'll conflict with my schedule, well, you can reshape your schedule around that. Like, oh, I've got to go visit my dad on the weekends or whatever it is. You can say, well, I got a job and I think that's important so that we have, you know, um, our finances in order. So I'll visit my dad every other weekend or whatever it is. I don't know your schedule, but you can find ways to change it. And that's all right. And I think your dad would understand that and he'd be proud of you for it. And then the other thing is, if you're worried about your dad, that he's a good dad, and that your mom is a good dad, or mom is a good mom, but they have issues, right? I think a lot of people, they just have issues with themselves and with other people. The best thing you can do for them is just talk to them and try to set a good example with your own life. You change the most people by just living your own life and setting a good example with it. So if you aim to be the best person you can be, especially in front of them, that'll inspire them to be the best persons they can be. And that will help resolve some of those issues. But again, you can always just talk to them. And, sit down, have a calm conversation about whatever, anything. Conversation helps people. And so don't be afraid to talk to your mom, dad, and if they start talking about an issue, then just listen and hear them out. And then when they're done, you can ask them politely, like, hey, would you mind if I gave a recommendation on this? Or do you not want that? You could ask things like that. And then if they say, yeah, then they've consented to it. And then you can say the issue. I think that's a phrase that we learned through business building, is that, hey, would you mind if I made a recommendation? Eventually we came to know, like, oh, here it comes. But it's a doorway into giving advice that's not forcing it on them. They're allowing it. You ask them a question like, hey, would you mind if I gave some advice on this issue? Because I just have some thoughts, and then they can say, yeah. And then you can talk to them, obviously calmly, and about the subject, whatever the issue is, if it's drinking or if it's, how to deal with, I don't know, anything. So hopefully all that helps. I know that was kind of long-winded, but, and not exactly to the point, but yeah, I'm going to let Joe take over.
Okay. Well, Ryan, you really set that up nicely, because I don't have much to add.
I didn't say.
You handled, like, when, this stream will be on YouTube. So go back and listen to that part that Ryan talked again and again and again, because there's so much key insight in there about all that stuff. All I feel I can really offer at this point is just some encouragement. And I gotta tell you, Anonymous, that the fact that you have not become bitter in this situation is amazing to me, because it would be so easy for you to be bitter and spiteful and angry with your parents. But it sounds like from what you've posted here, that you appreciate the fact that your dad and your mom are good parents. They just have issues. So you have a level of understanding and maturity that even adults don't have. I know many adults that do not have that level of maturity, that understands, hey, these people are good people, they just have some issues. And I tell you, that attitude is going to take you so far if you can maintain it. mentioned Viktor Frankl before, and one of the things he learned in the concentration camps, he was a therapist that survived Nazi concentration camps. And he said, basically, at the end of it all, there's one thing nobody can take from you. And that is your ability to choose your attitude. It's your ability to choose your mental state. You get to choose how you respond to whatever there is. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he says, in the last analysis, the thing that makes humans different than any other creature on earth is the fact that we can choose our response. Between stimulus and our response is choice. Something happens, we look at it, and before we respond, we can choose our response. Now, sometimes it feels like we don't choose our response, and that generally is because we've made a habit of a certain type of choice over and over and over and over and over again. So it kind of feels automatic. We just react, and it's an automatic thing, but that's a habit that can be changed. And it sounds to me, Anonymous, like you are choosing a very appropriate response to this situation. So my hat is off to you. Actually, my hat is on, but
my hat is on to you.
It's on to you.
Oh. Oh. It will suck your brains out.
Yes. But I tell you, what you have here is the makings of an incredible, incredible life story, Anonymous. So many people who are supremely successful had very difficult childhoods, had very difficult time growing up, had very difficult challenges when they were young. And it really strips you, to go through the situation you're going through. It kind of takes all the extra fluff off of you. It kind of tears all that away, and it gets you down to what really matters. And you've got a lock on that attitude, which is perfect. And with that, you can create any life you want. We were talking, listen to our commentary that we had for Crimson about how do you find a place in the world? How do you decide what you want to do? How do you decide who you want to be, who you are inside? Take a lot of the stuff that we talked about in there, and you can take all that, you can create anything. You can prosper beyond your wildest imagination. You can build anything you want because you are going through a challenge and you're maintaining a good attitude through it. But by the time you get to the point where you're going to build something, and maybe you are to that point, I don't know. But by the time you start doing that, you've already got the hard part out of the way. You're going to be like, oh man, you know what? Hey, so this bad thing happened. Well, I'm going to still move forward because I've been through worse. I've been through that hardship that I went through before. And that's really the key to succeeding, is just not giving up when all the challenges come your way that are going to come your way regardless. There's going to be challenges.
Mm-hmm. And I know this Anonymous has gone through a lot of challenges.
Yeah. So, I mean, any challenge you get faced with in the future is going to be a piece of cake, because you're going to be like, well, I handled another challenge. I'm just not going to give up. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to learn what I need to learn in order to overcome this. And I'm going to continue until I win. Like the word focus stands for focus on, follow one course until successful. FOCUS. Follow one course until successful. So you'll be able to just stay on that course, not get knocked off, because you already know, hey, I've been through all these challenges. They were much harder than this. I can figure this out, no problem. And then you're just going to, you can go super far armed with what you're learning right now in this challenge. And I appreciate so much what you've brought and the example that you're setting in your attitude here. So thank you, Anonymous. And go back and listen to what Ryan said, because that's the part that actually is going to give you the steps,
No, I think that was
Joe.
You said a lot of great stuff, man. And that's yeah. You said the most important part, which is to uplift them. I'll tell you. Yeah.
But no, thank you, Anonymous. And I know my part was pretty short, but Ryan, like I said, Ryan explained pretty much anything I could ever explain, and he explained it way better. So go back and listen to his part.
Thanks, Joe.
If you need an extra little shot in the arm, you can listen to my part. But
we all need a shot in the arm, man. What? Okay. Okay. So, I'm curious. How does the phrase? What does the phrase mean?
Like not a punch. I don't think. I think it's more like a shot, like of adrenaline.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, we're talking about like getting a shot in the arm here. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're talking about the drugs. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, like a booster vaccine. Princess said it, like a booster, like a booster, not like a narcotic addiction thing that you're.
Okay, okay. So like a stim, not like got it. A stimulator, a booster.
Right. Yes.
Booster vaccine, which is completely different than a drug.
Exactly.
Well, it is kind of, but yeah, it's science stuff.
Science.
So have we caught up?
Yeah, I think we're caught up on the back questions.
Excuse me.
Yeah, all the ones from previous episodes. I think we have done now.
So we're on to Kayla's, which is one that that Kayla posted today.
Yes.
She's a little concerned right now because it took a lot of guts for her to post this concern. A lot of guts to post this concern, a ton. And so I have to give you props, Kayla, and tell you it's going to be okay. I am at the least, I'm very impressed that you would be willing to share this with us. And this is a tough thing that you're going through. So you said this. So as most of you know, I am a Mormon. And if you don't know the Mormons' standards, they are very against, not hateful, but very against gays/lesbian behavior. It is highly disapproved of, but for the past year or so, I've been struggling a lot with same-gender attraction. I've had several crushes on girls and even identify as bisexual in secret for a while. But more recently, my father found out about my secret coming out. And let's just say he was not happy. I'm hurting so bad inside because he expects me to hold in all my feelings and never talk about them, which just results in me feeling depressed and wishing he could accept me. I want so bad to obey him and just be straight. But no matter what I do, these feelings for girls keep coming back. I pray every night that God will take these feelings, take away these feelings my family and church keep saying are wrong. But at the same time, I don't mind being bi. I'm only trying to change so my dad will be proud of me again. I feel like such a miserable failure to my family because they've raised me to be faithful in the church and to follow the standards. But I feel like I should be allowed to love who I want to love. Wait, I want to make sure I'm not skipping a line here. Yeah, okay. And I think it says I understand. I understand that he doesn't want me dating yet, and I plan to respect that. But it's tough having to push down and hold in these crushes for girls. Anytime I mention a cute girl or that I'm feeling love for another girl, he shuts me down and says, I have no interest in hearing about your lesbian behavior. I've lost many close friends due to my lesbian behavior, and anytime my dad suspects I like a girl, he refuses to let me even look at them. I want to obey my father, but I see no wrong in loving another girl. Please help. Something I should mention, I know this is a really sensitive topic, so it's fine if Ryan and Joe choose not to talk about it. Something to add on to my question, I've wanted to mention this for a while, but I've been so scared of judgment from you guys and even from Ryan and Joe. We've had hundreds of talks and arguments about this. He still stands firm. He will not tolerate any sort of lesbian behavior in the homes. All right. Let's see. I feel like my father feels disdain towards anyone gay or lesbian. He doesn't allow me to have gay/lesbian or even bisexual friends. He teaches my siblings the same behavior, and it needs to stop. The way he speaks, sometimes it sounds like he looks down on anyone who is not straight and finds himself superior, even though he often says otherwise. He makes snide comments about it often. Okay, there you go. So that's a lot.
That's a pretty big. There was a lot that was being posted. I was wondering if it was all going to get on there. So I got to give props to Princess for putting all that up. So props Princess, and props Kayla for having the guts to put that on here. And I want you to rest assured, Kayla, that we will not judge you. We will not think less of you ever. Mm-hmm. Especially because of this. This is not a reason for you to feel like we would be judgmental or in any way think any less of you or love you any less. I mean, I wish I could reach through my computer and just give you a big, huge hug and tell you how much I love you as a person, as a friend, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, everything. I mean, my heart goes out to you. This is so much of a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah. And Kayla, if you remember, you and me, we have some sort of history, and I already knew some of this stuff. And I've never treated you differently because of it. I love you. So it doesn't change anything here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now I do want to, some of this, we do try and keep this family friendly, so we can't get too graphic or, too far into the rabbit hole, So, but I did want to make sure that I express how much that we love you, no matter what. And I want to encourage you. See, there's one thing. I mean, obviously from my background, we share the same type of view about that type of behavior, that it's not what's intended. I mean, looking at nature, it seems like it's not it, our body parts are built in a way that seems to be a disordered type of behavior. So and that's about as far as I'm going to go. However, that doesn't mean that millions and millions of people haven't had an attraction to somebody of the same gender. But I do want to make a couple of points about one. I really, really hate the labels of straight, gay, lesbian, bi, all these things. I understand they're descriptive terms to describe what somebody's going through, what a feeling that somebody has, but it really, really chaps me when people start labeling another person as a gay person or as they're gay, they're lesbian. Now it's like a label that describes them as a person. But when I look at somebody, there is so much more to them than an attraction or an experience of a feeling. You are so much more than your feelings. Yes, you have these feelings. Yes, they are real. And they are not feelings that you've necessarily chosen. As you've stated in your comments. But you are so much more than that. You have dreams, you have goals, you have abilities and talents, and you have a heart and a soul and a mind that can think and process and 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 do all these incredible things. And I think it reduces people when we start to label them, whether they're straight or gay or bi. And then it's like, is that all there is to them? That's the thing that really, really upsets me about the whole the way our culture is viewing this right now. It's like, no, we can't reduce somebody to that. There's so much more to a person than just that. This is an experience you're having. I understand it's confusing. I understand, and I love you so much, and ah, I'm sorry that the conflict is happening. I'm so sorry that, there has to be this huge conflicting back and forth. But for one, there was a guy who actually I know, I don't know this the author of this book, but I do know his brother quite well because his brother's a priest. And he's a priest at a church where I generally go to, throughout the week. I go to daily masses at this church. And his brother, his name's Dan Matson. This guy is an author, and he wrote a book recently. He said, "Why I Don't Call Myself Gay," because he also has same-sex attraction. And but he doesn't label himself gay because he's like, no, I've lived through that culture for a long time. He lived in that culture for so long, and he found out that's what he was being reduced to, was just this feeling, these experiences he was having. Like, everybody there was just like, that's what they were focused on. They weren't focused on the rest of him, of which there's so much more to every single one of us than that. Now, so that was one thing I really wanted to make sure to address. What was the other thing? Oh my gosh, I totally lost. Ryan, do you remember what I was going to address here?
Nope. I wasn't reading your mind at that point in time. I'm sorry.
Oh, dang it, Ryan. It's because I'm wearing a hat.
It's because you're wearing a hat, dude.
I'm wearing a hat. You're not getting it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we
So,
discussed it before.
yeah. Oh, here it is. You mentioned something about loving. You want to love another girl. You feel love for these people, and yes, you can feel love for anybody. This is another thing that I think our culture is getting backwards as well, is they say what love is physical sexual relations. That's love. And that's not love. Love is a self-sacrificing gift to another person. It's wanting what's best for them. And I know from experience what the culture now is calling love. We say, hey, we live in a time of free love. It's love. We can love whoever we want. And what a lot of times what they're talking about is not love, but lust. Because they're talking about satisfying an urge of themselves, and it's gratifying themselves, and it's an inward feeling. It's not a giving outward feeling. It's more of an inward, I want this feeling, so I really, really want it. So I should have it because I want it. And that somehow is love. And that pursuit, I went down that road for years. The pursuit of the feelings, the urges, the gratification of these urges. And that is so empty and so disheartening and reductive and everything. It just, I don't know how I can express it. And I really, really, really hope I'm not offending anybody, but this is a polarizing topic. But I can tell you that real love, real, true love is one we can have for any person, regardless of gender. it doesn't matter, because what it is it's a gift. It's that I love this person so much. I want what's best for them. I want them to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I want them, and I want to do everything I can to help move them in that direction and be a whole person, not just an experience of a sexual attraction. I want, when I look at you, Kayla, I don't even think about, you know, I, you know, not much surprises me about anybody. So I can't, I'm never really shocked when I hear whether somebody is dealing with same-sex attraction, but it's really not one of the things that I was thinking about, because I've seen you on the streams here before and I see your heart and I love your heart and I love your voice. I think I've made that exceptionally clear over many streams. I just, I love you. I love the person that you are. And I wish, like I said at the beginning, I wish I could just give you a big, huge hug and tell you, that regardless of any of this stuff, I love you and I want what's best for you. And I can't wait till, we can work on some projects together. I know I've said that before and you don't necessarily believe it, but I hear your voice and I still want to do it. It's just, we got a lot of things to put together before we can get to that point. And I apologize for that. But Kayla, you are an amazing young lady. Amazing young lady. And you're so much more. You're so much bigger than like all of these things. And I would encourage you, please, please, please try and live above the label. An attraction is an attraction, and it's something we have to deal with. We don't always have to act on them, for sure. I mean, if I acted on every single attraction that I ever had, oh my gosh, that would be absolutely ridiculous. And so I really just want to encourage you, Kayla, and I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. I really hope that I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. But that's about the best I can do. So Ryan, take over, please. Save us all from.
Honestly, you've said everything that I think I could say on this subject. I mean, you said it really, really well. The only thing I would be saying is to reiterate the things that you've said. I have to say this. I have to figure out how to say this correctly. But I really, really, really dislike LGBTQ situation that we have, because it's silly to me. Because let's just break this down. In society, in America, we have Democratic and Republican, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much do those labels not define who we are, but how much do those labels tear us apart?
Yeah.
You have people who are leftist or rightist on, political parties, and they cannot get along. You have people who are like, well, I like, this, and then another person says, well, I like this. And then just because of that, they can't get along because they have these labels. And what stirs me up and makes me so sad is that in our culture today, the LGBTQ thing, that whole community, and I'm glad that there's a community there so that they can support each other. But at the same time, the more that you do that, the more you're causing conflict for yourself. The more you get into that, the more you're separating yourself from other people, because you're labeling everybody. You want to label yourself so you feel like you fit in, but when you label yourself, you actually just set yourself apart. So like, let's say if I said, now I'm not gay, but if I said I was gay, I'm defining myself as something which I apparently feel is important. So now I would say, oh, no, I'm not straight. Oh, I'm not bi. No, I'm not bi. Oh no, I'm not any of those things. I'm just this one thing. And
Mm.
I'm just gay. Right? That would be setting me apart from everybody, not actually connecting me to people. And so what I really don't like is that when you label someone, you end up separating them. And when you label yourself, you separate yourself. So as Joe was saying, you know, I would just like to break that wall down and say, hey, this is just one subject of many. You're human and we're human and that's amazing. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We're human, you know? There's so much more. And it's interesting to me too, is like most of this, it only has to deal with sex.
Mm.
That's all, which is what part of your life? Is it the main thing? Because the problem is society wants to make that the main thing. The more we focus on LGBTQ stuff, which again, I'm glad that community is there because we need to, I want people to feel loved. That's the most important thing. But the more we focus on this sort of division, the more we focus on these sort of relationships, the more we're making sex to be the pinnacle of life.
Mm.
And it is not. It is not. That's one tiny, eensy little part, which many people can tell you from experience that if you get into that addiction, you ruin your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you consider that to be the pinnacle of life, your life feels very unfulfilled, and you have to keep on trying over and over to make that your reality. And it's just a terrible feeling to be addicted to it and to be not just addicted, but like ruled by it, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So
because then you're not free at all.
Yeah, then you're not free. You're you know,
a slave.
You're a slave. Yeah. So, who's a virgin? I'm a virgin. So, what I would try to suggest to you is to stop thinking of yourself as bisexual, because sex isn't the main thing. And like, for example, let me just bring this out like this. I talked to someone not too long ago about this. Let's say you are one of those people that find feet sexually attractive for some reason. Some people do. I don't know. I don't get it, but some people do, right? I'm trying to keep this as kid friendly as I can, but I mean, we're talking about the subject. So some people have an attraction to feet that compels them in that sort of way. Do those people talk to their mom about that and say, hey, mom, I got this thing for feet? You know, it's like, no, your mom doesn't need to know about your fantasies. Your mom doesn't need to know about whether you like feet or underwear or wallpaper or whatever. Like those, that's not a part
wallpaper.
Yeah, that's not a part of her life. That's not a part. And you know what the funny thing is? You can tell me these things. If you went up to me and tell me these things, that tells me nothing about you. You can tell me like, hey, I like underwear. I'm like, cool. I know one thing that you enjoy. That one thing that you enjoy that I'll never be a part of. I will never be a part of that enjoyment with you. Your mom will never be a part of that enjoyment with you. And it tells me nothing about who you are as a human being. It tells me nothing about how much you care about others, how much you stand up for others, how much you love people. It tells me nothing about your talents. It tells me nothing about the struggles you've gone through in trying to become a better person. Maybe it tells me a little bit, but not really a whole lot. You know how I learn about you? Spending time with you. You know how I learn who you are? Is that we are humans interacting with each other. And then I come to understand you and I come to love you, right? So it has that whole thing is this weird thing that doesn't need to be made important. In society, we have this community who are fighting to become accepted. But love and acceptance are two very, 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 very different things.
Mm.
I can love someone. Let's say I have a friend who's really upset and they want to, I don't know, hurt somebody, right? They're really upset and they want to just hurt somebody. If they went, well, I want to hurt somebody and that's just who I am, so I'm going to do it. I don't accept that. I don't accept them, and I don't accept that desire that they have. But that also doesn't make them who they are. That's just a desire that they have. They want to hurt somebody. You know? I love them. I want the best for them. But to say this is just who I am, I hurt people on purpose. That's just who I am. Well, that's something you feel you want to do, but it doesn't have to be done. And that's not really the pinnacle of all that you are. And you can choose to, you might have that feeling, and that feeling might be there for the rest of your life. Like, I really just want to hurt people, right? But the interesting thing that Joe was talking about earlier is we get to make the choice. Do I hurt somebody or do I not hurt somebody? You would be more proud of the person. Like, let's put these two things together. Somebody who wants to hurt somebody and someone who doesn't want to hurt someone. This person who doesn't want to hurt somebody goes through their entire life without hurting someone, and physically, I mean, purposely, like punching someone in the face. And then this other person who's never had that struggle, they've never wanted to hurt anybody, and they don't hurt anybody. So both of them never hurt anybody. But one person has had to deal with their whole life the struggle of wanting to. Who are you more impressed by? The mental strength of the person who wanted something and chose not to do it. And I think that's true also for sex. We don't need to go around and have sex with everything, all right? Just because we have a fascination, right? The concept of making LGBTQ, all of these sexual terms, except for, you know, some of them kind of are excluded, but most of them are generally just about sex. And making that such a public and main issue of our time not only divides us, but it destroys us. It destroys the culture. If you have a culture focused around what they can get, what kind of satisfaction they can get from another person, that's what it is. I mean, let's just...
It's using a person as an object.
Yeah, using people as an object, because you're using that person as an object to experience pleasure within yourself. And yes, you might be giving pleasure to them too, but it's still both of you now using each other for a physical pleasure. I don't think that a culture and now you see why so many people are dealing with depression, why so many people feel like they're being used, because both of those things go together. So I hate that we're here. I hate that we're here as a culture. It pains me. It makes me so sad and so mad, because it's like, come on, like, I don't want this for anybody. I don't want this for me. I don't want this for my kids. If I have kids someday, I don't want this for anybody. But that's what the culture is focused on, and it's destroying us. Right. Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
I can't go around and say to people, I love Ryan. And I do. I love Ryan. I love his brother, Kyle.
I love you too.
I love Jesse.
Jesse's awesome.
I love Steve.
That guy.
I love Jeff.
I love that guy.
I love Slightly Above Average Joe. I love Princess. I love all of you. I love Rack Attack, Sunnily, Haley, Kayla. You know, I'm going to miss names. Bree. I love all of you, and it has nothing to do with sex at all.
Oh, I love you too, Bree. Mommy loves you. You're cute.
I love you with my heart, and I want what's best for you. And that's why, we do these streams because we love you. I mean, that was when Ryan and I talked about keeping these going or restarting them or whatever we did, we were like, you know what? It's because we love you guys.
I love you, Amira.
And I cannot agree with Ryan more that, you know, the very twisting of the word love into something that just means a mutual using of another person for physical gratification.
And we do that a lot. And we do that outside of even just sexual relations. We do that in a lot of relations.
We do. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we should love. I love lots and lots of guys. Love them. Really love them. Like truly. Like want what's best for them. Am willing to sacrifice for them. You know, willing to give to them and for them. You know, that's love. Not I want to gratify an urge. You know. But I love what Ryan said about the thing about, you know, if you've got someone who has this desire and yet doesn't act upon it, and then you have another person who never had the desire and never did it, which one of those people would you see as more virtuous? It's the person that had the desire and yet disciplined themselves to not do it. And one of the keys, I remember hearing a speaker talk about this one time. And this was actually, I think, oh, man, it might have been some old war general. A mom was asking, hey, if I'm going to teach something to my son, what's the best thing I could teach him? And this very hugely successful war general told this mother, said, teach him to deny himself. Now, I know our world and our culture, that's like swearing taboo to think, oh, you should deny yourself. You should deny your feelings. That's denying who you are. No, it's not. Because, you know, sometimes we have feelings and our feelings are wrong. This is like, I'm going to go to confession with you guys right now.
Uh-oh.
I have a recurring feeling.
These guys aren't priests.
I drive around all day long on the road. And I have this recurring urge that when I hear somebody honk their horn, I want to throw my car in reverse and back into them and slam into their bumper and knock them off the road and run them over. Because I hate honking of horns.
Yeah, there's no reason.
And it gives me this urge. Like, seriously, I have this urge. Now here's the thing. I don't want to like necessarily equate that urge with any urges anybody else is feeling. But what the point I'm trying to make is sometimes our feelings can deceive us. I'm not saying that's necessarily happening for all of you, but it's worth asking the question, are my feelings deceiving me right now?
And I think a lot of times when you have these romantic feelings, you can be in a relationship with somebody and then have romantic feelings with a completely different person. And then some people say, well, that's just what I feel, so I'm going to go with it. I'm going to dump this other person, and then I'm going to go with this other guy, right? Or this other girl. But it's more virtuous to deny yourself and say, you know, I'm going to stay and commit to what I said I was going to do. You know, that even happens to married people. You know, we all have feelings, and we don't always have to act out on them, especially when they're of a romantic, I don't know, I lost my word, but when they are romantic, we don't need to touch all the women that we see. We don't need to touch all the guys that we see.
In fact, that gets you in trouble a lot of times. There are people that have gotten in big trouble just walking by a woman and grabbing a part of her body.
Yeah, right. And so you might have those desires, and that's relatively natural, regardless of, you know, their gender. That's actually quite natural to have those desires because you want something, because you enjoy something. That's actually really normal. But that's not what defines you. So Kayla, ultimately, I'm going to say this. What's our advice here? Let it go. Don't label yourself. Don't reduce yourself. Don't consider yourself bisexual or lesbian or straight or whatever. Because right now, if you do that, you're only going to feed the culture that is destroying us. So don't size yourself up to that anymore. Try not to. You know, understand like, okay, yeah, I enjoy these feelings, and I want to pursue these different acts with people, but at the same time, you don't. At the same time, that that's not good for you to do that with everybody that you see that you have that attraction to. So just try to remember that, hey, these are just feelings, and everybody has feelings like these. Everybody wants something for themselves, right? Use your life as a gift, like we said before earlier today. Don't cling for things for yourself. That doesn't make you feel fulfilled. That's why these people who are who call themselves LGBTQ, etc., always feel unaccepted and unfulfilled and feel depressed. Not always, but a lot of times they do, and they form these communities because of it. That's because they're chasing after something that is ultimately just for themselves. And it's because they're struggling to accept themselves, because you can't accept everything about yourself. I don't accept the fact, I don't want to accept myself when I want to do something that's bad. Sometimes I want to ignore a problem because it's easier, but is that the best choice? No. Is that what makes me who I am? Again, no. Just because I want to do this or that, I have these feelings. What I ultimately choose to do, that's who I am. And I'm going to try to choose to do the right thing, So yeah, just try to keep that in mind. Like, don't let all of this become a big deal. Just let it be there and be like, yeah, I have that attraction, but I also have attractions to do other things that would not necessarily be healthy for me. And I think that, again, this is something you're probably going to struggle with your whole life, but we all do. Everybody struggles with things that they don't want to do, and yet they actually want to do it at the same time, right? Everyone struggles with things like, man, I wish I could cut that guy off right now who's driving in front of me because he's being so annoying. Why did you cut me off and then slow down? I'm going to cut you off and slow down and see how you feel, right? Is that the right response? No.
Why did you honk your horn at me?
Yeah. Why did you honk your horn at me? I'm going to destroy you. No, okay, so anyway, yeah, so bisexual or straight or gay or whatever, they're all just like that. They're just feelings, they're just attractions, they're just things you want to do. You get to decide what you do with them.
Yes, and they do not define who you are.
Right. And yeah,
you are way more and of infinite value and infinite dignity. And don't let any challenge that you're dealing with make you forget that. And this goes for everybody who's listening. Every single one of you is unique. Every single one of you is special. Every single one of you is loved. Every single one of you. There's never been a single person like you ever in the history of the universe, and there never will be again.
Yep.
We are all anomalies and of infinite value and dignity. And I can't put enough feeling behind those words, but it's true.
It is very true.
So,
all right.
We are getting fairly late.
Hopefully, we answered that in the most polite way we could, not to disturb anyone's feelings. We understand that is an extremely touchy subject in our world today, and all we're trying to do is basically say, let's not make this an issue anymore, because it divides us. It really does, and I don't want that division, because that's not helping. You don't come closer to somebody by dividing them or segregating them or putting them in a little box or whatever. You come closer to someone when you spend time with them and you learn who they are outside of this one little aspect. Oh, this guy, he likes toenails on dogs. He thinks the dog toenails are cute. That's what kind of guy he is. No, that doesn't tell you anything about that person. You kidding me? Same thing to me. If someone is LGBTQAI+++, all the other ones, don't tell me anything about you. You tell me who you are when I talk to you, when I spend time with you, when I learn what you're interested in, outside of just one thing, but multiple things. When you take action, what do you do? How do you treat people? All of these things. So we're just trying to diffuse that situation, because, it divides us. It's really unfortunate. Wish it wasn't a part of our culture.
I know. It's, the division part really, really stinks.
So anyways, you're human and we love you. So thanks for coming to us with that, Haley. Or sorry, no, not Haley. Oh my gosh, Kayla. Not Haley, Kayla. Thanks for coming to us with that, and we really appreciate that you've come and you've taken the courage, the great amount of courage that it takes to talk about something like that, especially in our world today. So thank you, and you're awesome, and hopefully that gave you a little bit of peace going forward with the rest of your life, and can help decide what kind of choices you're going to make in the future.
And never forget that we love you.
No matter what, even if you do something we don't like, we still love you.
Yep, does not matter.
Accept you and everything you do, but we love you.
There's nothing you could do that would stop us from loving you, Kayla.
And you think, but what if I did this? No, literally, there's nothing. There's nothing.
We would still love you, because love supersedes action. Love is an action on a person's part, and it's a choice, but So
are girls fighting over you, Raka, right now? Is that what's going on?
They are. It's amazing. It's amazing to see what's going on in the chat.
Raka, stop being so gosh darn hot.
And Vimini, I gotta tell you, I started laughing because Ryan was saying something kind of serious, and I laughed, and it was because of you.
Yeah, what was it?
He's like, note to self: don't drive around Joe.
Oh,
that's what I was talking about. My desire to hurt people when they're driving, when they honk their horn.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, it's rude. Doesn't make any sense. You're honking your horn's not changing the situation. It's just letting other people know that you're upset, and that upsets me.
Right. So, okay. So we have a decision to make.
My
father. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Joe. How's it going? So are we going to close this thing down?
Well, I do want to at least address Amira. Amira, you have a very, very important topic on here, and I really, really, really want to be able to spend some time on this. And we don't have a whole lot of time left.
Okay.
So
is there any way we can give a word on it and then say, please come back next week and we'll talk about it more?
Yes, I think that's kind of what I was thinking. If we could do, like, if we can, help in a little bit, and then have a to be continued for the next stream, and we will begin with the next stream as soon as you get there, Amira. Was kind of what I was thinking. So, because this, it's a big deal. So do you want me to read it, or do we want to save reading the question? Okay.
Well, we'll read it both times. I think that'll work.
Okay. Is it Amira or Amira?
That is a good question. I don't know.
I really don't know.
Maybe it's Amira. Maybe it's Japanese. No, just kidding. I'm sure it's not Japanese. Amira Elizabeth Wiley. Amira Elizabeth Wiley. It could be Amira. Amira is an actual name. Amira, I haven't actually heard before, so it's probably Amira, but could be Amira. Either way, go ahead and read the question.
Hopefully we can pronounce it in an acceptable way. I said it right the first time. Okay, Amira, thank you.
Okay, good.
So Amira says...
I believe it's pronounced Amira. Thanks, Sonali. That helps us. I love that.
Nice. Okay. So Amira...
Love you, Dragon.
Says here, I'm trying to find a way to commit suicide because I'm a worthless excuse for a life form, but I can't pull myself to do it. I don't have depression, but I do have PTSD, which would be post-traumatic stress syndrome, and endless bad luck. I really don't want to live. I'm positive there's no purpose in my life unless that purpose is to make other people's lives more miserable and suffer endlessly. No, I don't. I doubt I really matter to anyone, considering how hopeless and worthless people see me in real life. I don't know what that makes me, I don't know what it feels like to be loved. As far as I can remember, I've never been happy. I was a victim of child abuse. My teachers and other adults hated me and treated me like a useless idiot. Everyone who has ever been involved with me got hurt. That would be no one. Even my own family sees me as worthless. My life has involved nothing but pain and suffering. I got taken away from that situation when I was 12 by Child Protective Services. Some of these may also be partly responses. Yeah, so in the chat.
But they help us.
Yes, it puts a clear picture of the puzzle together for us. So I lost my job as if I didn't feel hopeless already. I've been homeless when I was living with my mom, and it sucked. I was still being abused, and no one did anything about it. And then closes with, I hate my mother. I know that sounds horrible, but I really do. And wow, Amira, I want to...
Sounds really hard.
It is. My goodness. If once again for you, if I could reach through the computer and just give you a big hug, I would.
Yeah, I would too.
I would. I wish there was something I could do to just wrap love and acceptance around you, because I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to feel worthless. I know what it feels like to feel miserable. I know what it feels like to feel like you can't do anything right. Everybody around you is just getting hurt by you, and it would be better off for everybody if you just weren't around. I know exactly what that feels like, because I've had all of those feelings. Now, I especially am sorry for the fact that you were abused as a child. I know that, oh my gosh. I mean, I never dealt with much abuse from people like teachers and parents and stuff like that. But I did get bullied a lot by, other kids in school when I was growing up. And so, I do know that type of abuse just from peers. And and it just, my heart goes out to you, because it hurts me to know there's another person going through that type of a feeling. And this is why I wish we had a lot more time to, unpack this with you. And I want you to know that you are valuable. I want you to know that even though it may seem like you have no purpose right now, finding our purpose, we talked a little bit about that on the first topic, but it's really like a discovery project. It's like mining for gold. You're kind of searching, and I don't think we never really find it, totally 100% clearly, but it's there. And our job is to dig for it. Our job is to search for it. And that can be fun if we treat it the right way. And it can also be discouraging if we feel like maybe we see other people that seem to have it figured out, and we don't yet. And, and that's kind of, we get caught comparing ourselves to other people in that way. But oh, man, the feelings that you have right now, they can really, really be debilitating, and it can make you feel like you don't want to do anything. You don't want to try. I know. And I so wish that I could make you feel the empathy that I feel for you right now. I so wish that I could, take that feeling that I have and, send it to you effectively. But I know there's really not a way I can do that. All I can do is say words. And the truth of the matter is that you are valuable and people love you. We here love you. And we're glad to see you here. And that's a fact. The fact of the matter is, like I said before, you're unique. There's nobody like you. You have something to bring to this world. Even if you don't know what it is yet, there's something. And one thing, because I believe in God, I believe we were created, and I believe we were created in love. And I know that God does not create any junk. When he creates us as good. And when he sees us, he sees that creation as a good thing. And I hope you come back to the next stream, because this is to be continued, but I want to leave you with some of those thoughts that, you are valuable. God does not create junk. And you are loved here. And I'll turn it over to Ryan. So, Ryan.
Yeah, I just want to touch briefly on this, I guess, because we don't have a whole lot of time, but we will, again, just like Joe said, be back next Wednesday. And if you're here, we'll talk about it again. If you're not here, we'll do it whenever you are here next. Okay. So keep that in mind. If you can't make it on Wednesday or Friday or whatever it is. So yeah, this is a really hard subject, because, you're dealing with an entire life, but if you don't mind, I want to talk about Japan for a second. Japan has a really high suicide rate. And there's another country that has even higher suicide rate. So Japan has a higher suicide rate than we do in America. I mean, it's the amount of people that commit suicide based on the amount of people that live in the area. So, the higher percentage of people committing suicide in Japan than America. And even higher than Japan is Korea. We're not talking about North Korea, by the way. This is South Korea. I don't know what the statistics are in North Korea. It could be just as bad. But let me talk to you about that for a second, and you'll understand why in a second. So in Japan, their culture is the value of a human life is highly dependent upon how much they do, how much they're needed, how much they help, whether they have a job or not, etc. So a lot of times in Japan, students will take a test, and the test will determine their value in society. Like they'll take a test, and the test will say, "Hey, you can do this job, or you can do this job, or you have a X percentage chance of getting into college, or of landing a job that's successful." And it'll tell them this. A lot of students, after taking that test and failing it, will go out, not a lot, but a decent amount, enough to get recognized, will go out and commit suicide after taking that test. And that's because Japan, unfortunately, really unfortunately, determines people's values the same way that they determine the value of an object. For example, I have a screwdriver, right? The screwdriver is a tool that's to be used. But if I don't really work using screwdrivers, like my job is a musician, I don't really need screwdrivers for that, then the amount of value that a screwdriver provides is like nothing. So I don't really care about screwdrivers. Similarly, if there's a person and they're not doing anything for society, if they're not helping, if they're just sitting in bed all the time doing nothing, then they're not helping me, so they're not valuable at all. So when you have, and this has happened in China as well, when you have a baby girl instead of a baby boy, you look at that and you say, oh, there's not as much potential there because it's a girl. Now, this was in the past, but that was the thought. And they were like, okay, so we'll just kill the girl and then try for another child and hope it's a boy this time. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. People's value is not based on whether they can perform a function or not, whether they add to society or take away. If we reduce people to that, then of course you're going to have the feelings of suicide. And it's kind of leaked into our culture as well. How valuable you are is not based on, like, if you look at somebody who's bedridden and they can't do much, they can still talk maybe, or maybe they can't even talk. They just are sitting there in a coma. Should we just kill that person because they don't add anything to society? No, that's a human being. One, sure, they still have potential, but even if they don't, if they're just going to sit there for the rest of their life until they die, do we take that away from them? No, we don't have that right. And also, that's not okay. That's messed up if you think that people are more valuable because they have more money, or they're more valuable because they participate in school with more activities, or they're more valuable because they blah, blah, blah. That's not okay to think that, because that destroys people and that destroys people's insides. So if I'm that person, then yes, I would say that your value as a human being isn't based on what you've done in the past or what you can do in the future. Your value as a human being is infinite because you are a human being. There's no one like you. You have a story to live. And I want to see that story. I won't necessarily get to, but you get to share parts of it with us. And it's not easy, being pushed around or being told you're worthless. I can understand that makes you feel worthless, but you're not. So you're worth the world. You're worth everything. You're worth dying for. I don't know you. But put me in a situation where I have to choose my life over yours, right? I would die for you, even though I don't know you, because you're worth that much. And I know you. I don't even want to commit suicide, right? I don't want to die, but why, why, that's virtuous, and we think, oh, that's really nice, right? That someone would die for a stranger because he values that person, because that person is a human being. I think that's a good thing, right? And so we need to see everybody like that. And a lot of times we are able to see other people like that. Like, wow, this person, I love them so much. They're awesome, blah, blah, blah. The hardest person a lot of times in our current age is to see as valuable as ourselves. So um, how you determine value in a society, and in Korea, by the way, is the same. In Korea, it's the same thing. They have a lot of suicide rate because everyone thinks that the value is based on what people do, what people have to offer. Now, of course, purpose is important, and we talked about that earlier today. Your life is a gift. How can you use it to give? That will fill you with a feeling of fulfillment. It will fill you with love, and it will take your mind off of depressing things. It'll help you move forward and make you feel like you're doing something for people. But regardless of whether you are or not, you're still human, and I still love you just as much. And so, anyways, we have a lot more to talk about on the issue. So we'll continue that next time. But I just want to let you know that I don't care whether you've done nothing in the past. I care that people abused you. That's totally not acceptable. That's totally wrong.
Absolutely.
That's not what you deserved. Right? But to me, none of that determines whether you're valuable or not, what you're worth, what you do deserve, or anything. So I just want you to know that, hey, if it were up to me, obviously you would never have those problems. But if it were up to me, I would hope that you would feel like you are worth the whole world, because you are. You know? So I love you, Amira, or Amira, I mean, Amira now. I keep on saying Amira because it was suggested. Amira. Yeah, I don't even know you, right? We don't know each other, but I wish I could get to know you.
She does ask if she can message you on Discord.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, why not?
And suddenly, again, it's Amira.
Amira, it's Amira.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Sana. You're awesome. So, anyways, yeah, if you want to talk after the stream, let's do it. And I'll chat with you, and we'll pick this up next time.
And yes, and Kayla, I can chat with you for a little bit, but I'm not for super long time, but I would be happy to spend a few minutes with you. So, yes.
Right, it's Amira. You're right, it's Amira.
Yes.
AMRA.
Oh, and just so you guys know, I know Kayla, you saw him, but on our YouTube channel, you may have started to see some other Don't Worry Wednesday videos popping up. Now, I did get a comment on one of those saying, "Oh, you streamed without me," and I was like, oh, "Except that wasn't a live stream. That was what we're doing now is we're starting to post the individual concerns that we're handling. So these are starting to finally get posted, and there's going to be a playlist, that's just those. And there's enough material. They're going to be released quite frequently, and there's going to be a lot of them because we've been doing this since May, every week. And we feel so blessed to be able to do this with you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Man, I tell you, thank you guys so much. Without you, this show wouldn't be possible. And I know from a few of you that we've been able to have an impact. I would say it's probably mostly Ryan's commentary that has an impact, and I'm just fun to watch talk, and stuff, and I just relay my own.
Fun to watch.
I just kind of relay some messages. Actually, you guys come to see my backdrops because I have a different backdrop a
Yeah.
lot of the times. And listen to what Ryan has to say. Ryan.
Yeah, I have the ugly backdrop, which is clutter mess.
Yes. So so thank you guys so much for making this show possible. And thank you for the courage to post your questions and your concerns. And we're just so happy that you guys are here. And we're so happy that we get a chance to possibly have an impact. And you guys mean the world to us. And go to bss.studio, get on the forums, have a good time. It's a blast. You're going to find the greatest community in the universe on the forums. And it won't be long. And there's going to be podcasts of all the Don't Worry Wednesdays as well. And there'll be links to all that as well. So you guys are going to love it. So anyway.
We love you guys. God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. We hope to see you next Wednesday. If you're not here, whatever, we hope you have the best rest of your life then. And until next time, peace. See you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.